Podcast.
I've been doing yoga for years, and I used to go to this studio, an Iyengar studio, if you're familiar with that type of yoga. There was a joke we would have, because you'd see people around the neighborhood, and we'd say, oh man, I'm not used to seeing you with clothes on. Because you would see people out of context, and that happens in a lot of ways. You probably had it happen to you, and maybe it's because somebody recognizes you because of your podcast. I've got a funny story for you and me, but not for this one guy. I'm going to get into that. It's Build a Big Podcast, a marketing podcast for podcasters. This is the podcast about growing your audience, getting more people to your podcast, making a podcast that matters, making a podcast that people want to listen to, tell their friends about, and makes you money. If you're interested in those things, you are in the right place. This is episode 216 of my weekly newsletter. That is called Big Podcast Insider. You can find it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. It goes out every Friday morning, New York City time. You can sign up, get it via email, and get additional commentary here on Build a Big Podcast. Here's what we're going to talk about. Kaboom! Podcasting on Bluesky. You can't replace a moment in time. Audio and video editing suite. In other words, software. Pay what you want and help charity. Lifetime podcast hosting for only $79. The Podcast Blizzard. 15 very scientific charts and graphs about the podcast industry. This episode of Build a Big Podcast brought to you by Riverside.fm, a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible, accessible to anyone, even you. But you've got this. You know what you're doing. What's really important here is that Riverside's going to make it accessible to your guest, no matter where they are in the world, no matter what their internet connection is. As long as they've got a quiet space, a good microphone, they are good to go. Riverside's going to make you and your guests look and sound your best. Look as in, yep, it's got video too. Again, all you need to do, show up with a good mic. If you're doing video, a well-lit place, studio recordings, and lightning-fast editing. You don't like editing? Riverside's going to make it easier for you. AI tools help you take out the ums, the ahs, the filler words, the weird pauses. When you're thinking, no, not you, your guest. Instant transcriptions powered by AI with 99% accuracy. Also, it's going to go through your long-form audio. It's going to find the most interesting parts for social media. Chop them up, give them to you in tiny little pieces. Riverside's got you covered from recording to editing to marketing your podcast. You want to try it for free? Yeah, go ahead. Go to riverside.fm. They're going to give you a couple of hours. Take a look, do an interview, maybe 2 interviews. See what you think. Use all the AI tools, the recording, the editing, the marketing. If you want to stick around, I've got a discount code for you. That's Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST, Riverside.fm. Go there right now, get your free account. And if you want to stick around, use that discount. 15% off with the code Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. You know how this works. I'm going from thing to thing to thing, each of them about podcasting. When I get to the end of one thing, before I start the next, I'm going to give you this URL. What is it, Dave Jackson?
Newsletter.bigpodcast.com.
Then you're going to hear this sound. That's how you know I'm on the next thing. You ready? Kaboom! This happened to me last week, and it was shocking. Talking about seeing people in a different situation. I woke up, I hear 2 guys talking, and they're on a loudspeaker. Like cops, ambulance, something like that. And I actually thought it was an ambulance at first. I've got a friend of mine in the neighborhood. He's been having some medical stuff. So, oh no, something bad is happening. But I thought it was weird. Maybe they left a speaker on the outside of the ambulance, so it was more like a megaphone. Anyway, turned out it wasn't an ambulance. It was an FBI van. And what was happening is they were giving this guy warning that they were about to bust through the door. Kaboom! Flash grenade went off. They did bust through the door. A few minutes later, they come out with the dude. He's in his pajamas, put him in the van. Then 3 of them, all of them with big-ass guns, escorted him back in the house. I don't know what they did. Eventually hauled him off. So I know this guy. Known him for years. Don't know anything about him as far as why an FBI would want to go in and raid his house. But anyway, it happens. And look, I'm not judging the guy. And this is one of the reasons that I wanted to bring it up, because as podcasters, we can get into a situation where we get desperate and we do things we wouldn't normally do, but in this situation, we're desperate. And maybe that's taking on an advertiser, a sponsor, somebody that we don't agree with. And we think, we don't really like him, but we need the money. And I'm not making judgment on this, okay? Do what you need to do. Maybe it's going into topics and you think, I'm not really into these topics, but it's going to give me listens. Or having a guest on that you're really not into, you don't want to platform the guy, but he's going to get you attention. It is super easy to get into something because we need something now. Is it a long-term solution? I don't know. I got sucked in on this after reading something about it. It's embarrassing I'm actually mentioning it here. Mr. Beast Games, or Beast Games. I don't know what it's called, but I read an article about it. I feel like it was in the New York Times or something. And anyway, this guy was basically making the same point that I am now. He's like, I feel guilty for watching this thing, but I can't stop watching. I've watched a couple episodes. I don't know much about Mr. Beast other than everybody talks about him. And if you don't know who this guy is, tons of people watching this dude on YouTube. He's known for over-the-top stunts, and he's got a game that more or less is kind of like a Squid Game thing. Started out with 1,000 people, boom, immediately cuts them down to about 500, boom, immediately cuts them down to about 250, and then 150. The person left standing at the end is going to get $5 million, apparently. But one of the things that he'll do is he will tempt people. In one of the 2 shows that I saw, he got people up there that if they took the money he was offering, they've got to eliminate the team. And at the time, I don't know, it's 1/4 of the people there. So a lot of people that would be eliminated. And the counter went up and up and up. And it eventually hits $1 million. Obviously, the people don't want to be eliminated. No, don't touch it. Don't touch it. But the people on stage, if they press a button, those guys walk away with $1 million. It's easy to judge people in a situation like that. What would you do? You don't know what you're going to do. Maybe there's peer pressure. All the people, no, don't do it, don't do it. And then you regret it because you get eliminated the next hour, walk home with nothing. Or you hit it, it's all over the internet, and you're all of a sudden the bad guy. I bring this up to say we're going into a new year. Again, I don't make judgment on people who do things. The big thing kind of related to this that we're seeing a lot of this week is these musical acts that are playing the presidential inauguration. Now, I will tell you something from 8 years ago, Trump's first presidential inauguration. I'm in Nashville, used to work in the music industry, and I've got a friend of mine. She is the manager, or was. This guy has since passed, but an old school country rock guy. Let's say that. You would know him if I mentioned the name. Very conservative. He was on Fox News all the time. I ran into her. She said, we just got an invite to play the inauguration. I said, wow. And I assumed the guy was going to do it because, again, conservative guy. He's on Fox News all the time. I know that he supported Trump. I said, you're going to do it, right? She said, fuck no. We don't want to be involved in that show. I said, oh, okay. Smart business move? Yeah, maybe. 8 years later, maybe people saw how things worked out for the first guys that went there. I would think it's more controversial to do it now. I don't know, but maybe not. People do what they need to do to survive or not be blackmailed. You can't judge somebody until you really know what's going on. And even then, there's no way you can really know what's going on. People make the best decisions they can with the information that they've got now and with the situation that they've got now. You, me, everybody. The bottom line is people can find themselves over their head. Everybody's trying to survive. It is easy to sit from the sidelines and judge, but until you're in a situation, you do not know what somebody's going to do. I would hope that if Mr. Beast came to me with $1 million, I would make a good move for my family. But at the same time, also make a good move for the other people that were on my team. I would hope that if somebody came to me with a criminal enterprise, that I make a good decision where the FBI doesn't want to have anything to do with me. And I would hope that if somebody that I did not agree with wanted me to give them the endorsement by playing an inauguration or being on a show or doing some kind of business deal, that I would be in a position where I felt like I could say no and be comfortable with that. And I hope the same thing for you. More thoughts? Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. Hey, speaking of money and getting more of it, Let's talk about Big Podcast AMP. That stands for Audio Monetization Program. If you like the newsletter, if you like this podcast, you're going to love Big Podcast AMP. It is a personal coaching program that's going to help you do three things. 1, grow your podcast audience. 2, get people talking about your podcast. And 3, make more money with your podcast and your podcasting skills. I saw something really interesting this week. This is a job that a guy was wanting people to do. It said, please help me get my wife back. It's on a freelancer site. And what this guy wanted was something very similar to your podcast. He wanted somebody to put together a series of videos. He had the footage to help him convince his wife to come back. I don't know the story. I don't know what the guy did. Maybe I should talk to him. I'm going to have that in the newsletter next week. If you want that, make sure you go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com. That's where you can also get more information about Big Podcast AMP, the audio monetization program. Podcasting on Bluesky. Are you on Bluesky? If so, you're going to find this helpful. I've started a feed for podcasters to find each other and get instantly connected. Social media works because of the network effect. You're there. Your buddies are there. People that you want to listen to are there. We're all there together, listening, communicating, learning from each other. A new social media network comes up. Bluesky is one of those. I mean, it's been around for a bit, but it's really taken off in the last couple months. You don't have to have an invite to get on anymore. A lot of podcasters coming through. Where are the podcasters? Well, I've got them. You can be instantly connected to them. I will also put you on this list. So if you want to get involved with a discussion around podcasting, you want to get it to other podcasters, I will get you hooked up. You find the link to make this happen, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. You can't replace a moment in time. Bob Clearmount. He's an audio engineer who has mixed some of the most iconic live shows in music history. Live Aid, back in the 80s. Bob Clearmountain mixed it. The Concert for New York for 9/11. Bob Clearmountain mixed it. The Foo Fighters Taylor Hawkins tribute concerts, both of them, there was one at Wembley Stadium and another at the Forum. Bob Clearmountain mixed those. Sound on Sound said this: his name is on more hit records than anyone else in the history of popular music. He's worked with Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. He did that one. The Rolling Stones, David Bowie. His home and studio burned to the ground in the Palisades fire. Equipment can be replaced, but moments in time, the things that we capture on tape every single day, cannot. A gentle reminder to you. Back up your recordings. Right now, my voice is not only going into my DAW, my workstation, and for this session, I'm using Audacity. It's also being backed up on a Zoom F3. I love this recorder. It's a couple $100. It is basically idiot-proof. One button, 32-bit float, which means it's very hard to clip. It's very hard to have a signal that's so low that it can't work with that. It's going to make sure whatever you put into your mic gets backed up. Bottom line, whatever you put into your mic, it will be backed up. If you're interested in learning more about the Zoom F3, I've got a link for you at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. But I also have something, and this is a freebie, 10 gigabytes of cloud storage for you. Back up your stuff. You cannot recreate it once it is gone. And believe me, 20-something years and 30 at this point, I've lost a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff before digital that I recorded on reel-to-reel, no idea where it is. I mean, it's probably in a landfill somewhere. There's no recordings of it. And I wish I had it. I wish I had those old air checks. I think I do. I might be disappointed. And these are moments in time, man. I've done so many interviews with people who have died. You're definitely not getting those back. They cannot be recreated. So back your stuff up. 10 gigabytes of free cloud storage for you. You can find it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. Audio and video editing suite. In other words, a package of software. You pay what you want and you will help charity. This is a very nice software package to help your podcast production. It includes Vegas Pro Edit 21, SoundForge Pro 17. You might not know that name, but man, that was a big deal in the day. And a lot of people are still using it. It's an excellent program. A lot of cool stuff. Background music. It's a deal, man. The money goes to charity and you pay what you want. Set your own price. I love this idea. Now that I'm sitting here reading this aloud, I wonder if I were to do this for some podcast training. Maybe something to help the Palisades fire. Bless my buddy out of federal jail. Something. Pay what you want. It's a cool deal. Vegas Pro Edit 21, SoundForge Pro 17. There are a few things in the package. I think 7 or 9 things. I've got the link for more information and details. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. Lifetime podcast hosting for $79. And I'm talking podcast media hosting. You got the hosting covered. How about that media, though? Well, Disctopia. It's an alternative to Podbean, SoundCloud, Acast, and Megaphone. It was founded in 2019. It is established, it is well respected, and it is a great deal at just $79 for life. Listen to this. Unlimited uploads and storage. Unlimited downloads. Something takes off, they're not going to come and say, hey, we're going to bill you for it. No. Unlimited. You get as many people downloading your episode as you can get, no additional charge. Unlimited team members, meaning if you've got a co-host, you've got an editor or producer, no problem. Get them on there, no additional charge. Access to deep reporting and unique listener reports. This is something that a lot of media hosts charge extra for. You get it included in this deal. One-time $79 charge. Also, YouTube integration. Skeptical? I get it. I've got a link to reviews. I've got a link to the deal that you can find at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. Podcast blizzard. Lots of snow in the U.S. right now. That might knock your production off. We had an ice storm come through Nashville last week. Nashville, about 1/8 of an inch of snow, shut down for a few days. It's crazy. Southerners, we can't do it. Bread and milk, no. You're not going to find that. People would say, why don't you have snowplows? Well, it happens once, maybe twice a year. Not that big a deal. It's a snow day. But you know what can happen year-round? A guest showing up without the proper mic. And when that happens, I had a guy speaking to the wrong side of his mic. I could see him on video. I said, oh, yeah, you can't tap on your mic. Yeah, I think you're talking to the wrong side. Well, I've done hundreds of interviews like this. Okay. Don't let a guest bully you like that. It's works for everybody else. Not for me. Go do somebody else's podcast. Anyway, I got a funny joke about it. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. 15 very scientific charts and graphs about the podcast industry. These are not scientific, but they are worth a look. One, because I think you're going to find them motivational. For example, the total number of podcasts, and people think, oh, there's so many podcasts these days. How am I going to compete? There are too many of them, too much competition. So much lower than the total number of books or total number of blogs or total number of websites. You really don't have that much competition. And this guy's got these graphs of things like that that can help you reframe where you think you are with where you actually are. One of the things that I think is really cool about it is because he is doing, through this visual medium of a meme or graph, what you and I do, which is communicate a message in the fewest words possible. That's actually a good way to summarize this segment here. If you want more listeners for your podcast, simplify your message. Get to the point. Say it in the fewest words possible. If you want to see an example of this, I've got one, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. I also have the others that he's done linked, 15 of them in total. Again, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 216. Thanks for listening to Build a Big Podcast. You just found me? Get subscribed. Never miss an episode. Bigpodcast.com/subscribe. That is where to do it. I make it so easy on you. One click is all it takes. iPhone, boom, got your button. Android, boom, got your button. I've got an RSS feed linked. However you get your podcast, I'm going to get it to you. One click is all it takes. Don't like it? Get off at any time. One click. We will remain friends. I will always be here at bigpodcast.com. And again, if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, you want to work with me, you want to get more people to your podcast, make more money with your podcast, grow your authority, I'm going to help you with all that and more. It's called Big Podcast Amp. All the details at bigpodcast.com. Thanks for listening to Build a Big Podcast. Did you subscribe yet? Do it. Bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Go there now before you forget. And I'll see you on the next episode of Build a Big Podcast. It was founded in 1920. Well, it works for everybody else.